So after you complete your drawing of your still life, now's the time to think about color and the media that you're going to use. And we haven't talked about media yet. So media are the materials that you use to work with in your art. It could be pencil, paint. There are different kinds of paint: watercolors, acrylics, oil paints. There's also media like crayon, colored pencil, and oil pastel. Today we're going to be working with crayon, watercolor, and some watercolor pencil. Now, I've got my drawing finished, but what I want to do first is play around with the media a little bit and play around with the color. And another really cool thing, one of the reasons why I set up these colored bottles this way, you can see color shining through the different bottles. So when you start applying your watercolor paint, you'll actually see that happening when you're mixing your paints. So, I've got my little experimentation paper here. So I like to try out my media first, see if I'm going to like it or not. I'll experiment with the color off to the side a little bit. Block in a big area, like this big blue bottle. And just kind of play around with it. Notice where the color's darker in the bottle as you're working, and where it's lighter. So where it's lighter, you can use a lighter blue or more water. Watercolors are really cool, in that you can make the color lighter just by adding water. Now notice as I go over this yellow bottle, a little bit of a green color starts to happen. And that happens when you overlap the colors as well. You can see the yellow and the blue make a little bit of a green with the overlapping bottles. So I'll try this yellow bottle here. Also, when you're painting with watercolor, you may have to wait for a certain color to dry before you can move on to the next color. It's just fun to play around and experiment with how those colors work together and mix, especially with the still life, like the colored glass bottles. So once you find a media that you like to work with, then you can start working in your finished drawing. Another thing we didn't talk about a while ago is when you're creating your drawing, if you've got a lot of height, you want to line your paper up probably vertically to create your composition. If things are spread out this way, you'll probably create your composition horizontally. So since I've got a lot of height, I did mine vertically. Now, one of my favorite processes to work in is called Crayon Resist, or Watercolor Resist. And you use crayons and watercolors as a mixture. What makes it so cool is you get really cool texture because the waxy crayons resist the watercolor paints. So I've almost finished this one. I just got to do a little bit more work in the background. Remember earlier we talked about the different elements of art we've used so far. So line, shape, space, how we arranged things, form. Now I'm getting into a little bit of texture. And can you think of the last basic element of art? If you said value, you got it right. You see the value behind the bottles. It goes from a darker black to a gray. I'm going to put a little bit more black in my background. I'm going to use my bigger size brush for that. I also noticed that when I put my brush in the water and get some paint on it, I can go right to the paper at that point. You may want to add a little more water. May want to spread it around a little bit more. When I go on top of the bottles that I've done in the crayon, it beads up. It gives it a little texture. Now if I get too much water on my brush, I can dab it on the rag a little bit. So I think I want to add a little bit more black. To this part of the background. Creating a little bit of a shadow effect right there. Now down in the front, I do need to put a little bit more of the texture for the resist. So I'll come on top of my bumpy red-orange bottle. Got a little bit of the black. Down here, where the white cloth is, I may add a little bit of gray to bring out some of those folds. It's hard to paint upside down. And so, a Crayon Resist still life. And there are many other media that you can use. All of the supplies, by the way, can be bought at some place like Walmart or any place where they sell art supplies. So just think about what you want to use, experiment with different things for your still life. And have fun picking out things in your own home to come up with your own composition for your own still life. All right, have fun.